I've always liked books. They're beautiful things. The feel, the look, the smell, the touch. But what made me a collector of rare books was I was a graduate student at Indiana University, and a fellow graduate student was house sitting for a faculty member who was on leave. And I went in, and there on a shelf were books of the same kind I was looking at in the rare book library. And then it hit me. One could buy them just like any other book. That was what got me started. And then I started hunting for a favorite one. I found it, and I was hooked. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, this is the new acquisition shelves. I always like to look here because I never know what I'm going to discover. I found books from the 17th century, the 18th century, 19th century. Just don't know what you'll find here. I don't think I want to read this one, Treatise on Epidemic Cholera. And then I see, there's something nice. Some of the best artists designed these things, and collectors sometimes look for books that are designed by particular designers. And I've done the same thing. I've bought the book just because, like this, it's just so pretty. You know, who would not want a book like that? It's like looking for gold nuggets. You know, the gold rush where you're digging, and then suddenly something glitters, and you go, a bit of gold. I went to a book fair, and I was talking to a bookseller. And down in a glass case, he had a Greek manuscript. And you just don't see Greek manuscripts. I looked at it, I really wanted it, my heart's beating loudly. Please let me be able to afford this book. He named a price, I paid it. And then he said something about the others in a box. And I didn't catch it at first. I was so excited with the book that I actually left the book fair and I went home. And then later that night I thought, box? What box? Well, the box ended up in my house, and as I reached in, started pulling things out, I began to find beautiful medieval Greek manuscripts. Somewhere around 1525, 1540, something like that, perhaps earlier. And it's just the sort of thing that is intended for the Gennadius Library because it needs research. You can see there's even manuscript writing here in these end papers. Do you see that? With dates and other information. You really have to be a specialist in these things. And, you know, a book collector loves the book, but doesn't always necessarily understand the book. This is a great rarity. An unknown traveler, I believe is English, made this sketchbook. A magnificent record of what the country looked like in 1874-75. And one of the most remarkable images in here, the equivalent of Airbnb in 1874, somewhere on the way to Nemea, they stopped at an inn. And here you see their riding gear, their weapons. They've got the fire going, cook some dinner, try to dry out before the next day's travel. January the 13th. No wonder he's sitting so close to the fire. And this is the sort of record that can help us to visualize the world as it was at a time that's now, of course, gone. John Gennadius, whose collection made up the core of the Gennadius Library and whose benefaction made it all possible, this is what he envisioned. But I will also benefit by seeing all of these going back home, back where it began its life and where it can join others and be studied by scholars who will be able to tell me much more about its travels through time.
The Gennadius Library is a place that is full with books that have a very special history because they've spoken to somebody who had the passion, the will, and the eagerness to look for something. They were chosen by a collector. There are genius collectors. Gennadios was one of them. He was looking for something very specific. And I think this is what makes a good collector, to know what you're looking for. In the case of our library, the word is Greece, Greek, Athens, Constantinople, Byzantium, or something of the sort. This is the foundation upon which other collectors have offered their personal collections, the heirlooms of their parents, of their grandparents. And of course, new materials come in because people want to find a good home.
What Kértis Ránells has been collecting fit very much to what both the archives of the American School and the Gennadios Library have been collecting so far. Documents that are related to the history of archaeology in Greece, to the history of the Greek nation. It's very important when the collector decides to donate to an institution with organized facilities. It's not only that we will provide safe storage for posterity.
All these precious items get a new life. They get energized because here they also are shared with the public. It finds a new home, a home that is open to all.